Hey everybody, and welcome to today's Take Heart. We're continuing our little series looking at the stories of Jesus, and today I want to look at his most famous story, and it's found in Luke chapter 15, starting in verse 11. It's the story of the prodigal son. Jesus tells this story in response to the Pharisees who are muttering to each other about the kind of people that he's spending his time with. They say to each other, "Why is Jesus hanging out and eating with sinful people?" I think that question is a question that lots of us ask, but most of the time I'm not sure we're asking it about other people. I think we ask that question about ourselves. I know I do. The way it comes for us is we ask a question, why would God want to spend time with me? Why would he want to hang out with me? I get why he might want to hang out with that person over there or this person who seems to have lived quite a good life, but why would he want to spend his time with me? And one of the things that the parable of the prodigal son does is it speaks right to that. Jesus is trying to communicate to us in this story what the Father is like. And in order to do it, one of the things he does is he tells the story of a son who does something utterly horrific to his father. And then he tries to help us to see how the Father still responds to his son, how he still responds to his child. So in the story, the son comes to the father and says, "I want my share of the inheritance." In those days, that was even more offensive than it would be today. That's kind of code for saying, "Dad, I wish you were dead." And in a culture where you honoured your parents, that was incredibly shaming for them. And then the father he gives him the money. The son goes off to a distant land, spends the money, just wastes the money in just a terrible lifestyle, and then eventually realizes when he's got no other options, he's going to have to go back to his dad. And on the way, he's kind of practicing. He just knows, you know what, he's never going to take me back. After what I've done, there's no way we can have a father-son relationship. So the best I could hope for is that he'd take me on as a servant and pay me some wages and I'll do some work for him. So that's his plan. When he gets back to the Father, Jesus paints us this picture of what the Father does. He just runs to him. He flings his arms around him. He kisses him. He's full of compassion for him. Put it in a modern context. Imagine I said that to my dad, "I wish you were dead, Dad, but I'll take your money now." My dad sells the house, gives me my share of the money, and I head off to Vegas and I waste it on drugs and prostitutes. And then one day I'm sitting in a cheap motel in Vegas and it occurs to me that I've wasted my life and I've just treated the one who loves me so badly. And I think, you know what, I've got no chance of ever being welcomed back into the family, but I'm going to go back anyway. And, I'll just see if maybe we can just be colleagues of some kind, or I don't know, maybe he'd take me on as a janitor or something and I can just help out in an office somewhere, and I don't know, whatever. But I'm too embarrassed to ring him. Maybe I just ping him a little email and just say, "Hey Dad, travelling back, I know we haven't spoken in a while. I'm not expecting anything from you. I just wonder if we could just maybe have a functional relationship. I'll be back in Watford like on this date, and I don't want to put you in an awkward position, so I'm not gonna knock on the door, but I will just drive past on that day. And if you want to see me, like if you're open to just having, like, I get it's not going to be the same, but if you're open to having a conversation of some kind, could you maybe just leave me like a signal, just tie a balloon or something to the gate, and then I'll know. And if there's not one there, absolutely get it, and you'll never hear from me again." Now imagine I fly back to the UK, and all the way on the plane I'm thinking, like, what can I say to him if he does want to chat, And then I get in the taxi at the airport and it drives me to Watford, and my stomach would be churning. How's he going to respond to me after what I did to him? And it gets to the point where it's just about to turn onto the street, and at that point, if I'm in that taxi, I'm like terrified. And we pull onto the street, and there isn't just one balloon tied to the front gate. The whole of the front of the house is covered in balloons. Every single surface that you look at has got a balloon on it. My dad is standing at the end of the path on the side of the road. He's got two massive bunches of balloons in his hand. When he sees my taxi pull into the street, he flings these balloons up in the air and he runs at the car. He wrenches open the door. He punches out the seatbelt. He drags me out of the vehicle and he starts embracing me, and he's got tears streaming down his face, and he's kissing me, and he turns around and he yells back into the house where he's got all the family over. He's back. He's back. Start the music. Get the barbecue on. My boy is home. I start my speech. I know, Dad, that it's not going to be the same. He's not listening to a word of it. He's just got his arm draped around me. He's steering me into the house. And as he goes, he's just telling everybody how promising my future is. Jesus wants us to get that however our life has gone, and however worthy or unworthy we might feel, this is how the Father responds to us. He says, here's a story of someone who did something terrible to his father. Do you know how the Father responded? In this way, with love and compassion. What do you think you can expect when you come to him? The same is what he's trying to get us to understand. The same. We tell ourselves stories about what he's like. Maybe he's disappointed in us, in who we are or who we've become. Maybe he compares us to other people and we come up short. Maybe we can kind of just sneak in, if we behave ourselves, to the edge of heaven, but we'll always be sitting on the back row. You know, we're never going to be welcomed into the heart of his embrace. Those are the kind of stories that we tell ourselves sometimes. And what we want to do with this story is allow Jesus, the one who knows the Father best, to tell us what the Father is actually like. There are words to describe the Father in this story. He's generous. You know, he doesn't just forgive, and he does do that, but then he gives, you know, he blesses. In the story, it's the fattened calf and the robe and the sandals and the ring on the finger. He blesses. Another word I'd use to describe him is he's eager. There's no reluctance here. He doesn't hang back. He runs. He runs to what, again, in the culture, like for a granddaddy of a family, a patriarch, to leg it. Nobody did that. That was just losing your dignity. He doesn't care about his dignity. He cares about you. He cares about me. He's eager. He whoops and legs it the moment he sees us. He's emotional. This isn't stiff upper lip. Here's a handshake. This is I'm kissing your face and there are tears pouring down mine. I've fallen round your neck are the words in the story. He's joyous. There's nothing hesitant about the Father. He's rejoicing. Later on, as we'll see when we look at the rest of the story, he talks to the older brother who's really cross about what's happening. And the Father just says, we had to celebrate. I mean, there was no, it was utterly necessary. I have to celebrate. Hear that? He celebrates us. He won't have it any other way. We keep insisting, day after day, week after week, for some of us year after year, we keep telling ourselves this story that he just wants us as a servant or as a slave, and that's the best we'll ever get, and maybe we should just be grateful for that. And Jesus says to us, no way, absolutely not. He will accept nothing less than having you as his daughter, having you as his son. He says, I'm telling you, this is what the Father is like. So every time we talk to him, every morning we wake up, every evening just before we go to sleep, let's remind ourselves that this is a story that Jesus tells to help us to get the reality of who our Father in heaven is, and the fact that we get to say we're his kids.